So this week we are going to talk about verb tenses. So remember, a verb is an action or a state of being, and we have mostly focused on action verbs up to this point. Now last week we talked about subject-verb agreement, and that's going to come into play when we talk about verb tenses as well. So the first tense that we're going to talk about is present tense. Present tense tells something that is happening now. And we're going to take some notes down here. In the present tense, subject, verb agreement matters. So I want you to type that in the box at the bottom. Subject, verb agreement does matter in the present tense. So what I mean by that is if the subject is singular, add an S to the verb. If the subject is plural, don't add an S to the verb. So just like we talked about last week with the subject-verb agreement. And I'm going to give you an example. So it's going to be in the present tense, meaning that it is happening right now. The girls dance at prom. Okay, so dance is in the present tense, meaning that they are currently doing that. So the girls dance at prom. And it does not have an S at the end of dance because it is a plural subject. If it was the girl, it would be the girl dances at prom. So subject-verb agreement does matter when the verb is in the present tense. Now the next tense is past tense. Past tense tells something that has already happened. To make verbs past tense, you add ed to the end. And that's going to be the same for most or all regular verbs. Now when we have irregular verbs, which we'll talk about later, they do not follow that pattern. And again, we will talk about that when the time comes. So I will give you an example. So if it had happened in the past tense, it would be the girls danced at prom. So you add an ed at the end. Now dance does end in an E, so technically you would drop that E and add an ed, okay? Now in the future tense, that tells something that is going to happen in the future, and to make all verbs future tense that are regular verbs, you add will. So add will before the verb. So tomorrow, the girls will dance at prom. Okay, because this hasn't happened yet, so we have to add will before dance. So as you can see, subject-verb agreement does not matter for past tense or for future tense. In past tense, if it was girl, it would still be danced, so that does not change. And in the future tense, if it was the subject was girl, meaning singular, it would still be the girl will dance. So subject-verb agreement does not matter for past or future, but it does matter for present. So keep that in mind.